if you want to grow some good garlic, you need a good seed garlic. Well, last year we tried planting garlic using some of this organic store-bought garlic, and the results were really, really bad. And we discovered when uncovering all of our garlic that for some reason it all seems to have died back. As you can see, it's almost like, well, if I dig through here, there should be garlic in here because I planted a whole bunch and I planted it regularly, and there is nothing. And I'm not sure what happened there, but you know, that's not what we hoped for when we planted a whole bunch of garlic. I can definitely see some animal movement through here, some animal damage as well. So yeah, that's disappointing, but we'll try again next season, see if we can figure out what we did wrong. Which is kind of interesting because 2 years ago we planted some of this exact same garlic and we got some decent results. But when you're waiting all winter long for the garlic to come up and then the end result is nothing, well, I'll talk about that in a different video where we focus on our garden fails. But this year we decided, instead of taking time and perhaps wasting our time planting this kind of garlic, instead we would find a local source that provided good seed garlic and give that a try. And that's where this bag comes into play, because I got my hands on some high quality organic garlic seed that I'm going to be planting today. A couple of different varieties. I'm going to talk you through that, and I'm going to introduce you to Guten garlic. No, first I want to make it clear that Guten garlic is not a sponsor of this video. We went to a place that was fairly local to us where we had heard they had a good reputation, and now I know after meeting the owner that they have over 20 years of garlic growing experience. And so, you know, when you want to know how to do something well and you don't want to waste your time, you go to the experts that can teach you something. And I learned a lot just a few minutes of having a conversation with Guten. And one of the first things I learned in my brief conversation with Guten, and I guarantee you he reinforced this 3 or 4 times, if you want to grow some good garlic, you need a good seed garlic. And I'm going to show you one real quick difference between this garlic that I'm going to be planting and the organic garlic that I bought from the store. All right, here is the garlic that I bought from the store. Take a look at the base roots here. You see how those are all chopped off? Look at the difference with the ones I just got from Getun's. You see that it isn't really chopped off. Now, I know I'm pulling this apart, but if all of these are cut off, you're increasing the opportunity for disease to get in here. That's what he told me yesterday. I 100% believe that. And so that's just one simple difference. You know, one of the things I was so impressed with as I went and saw the facility and talked to Guten a little bit was he stressed the amount of information that's available on his website when it comes to planting. And it's not just that there's so much information there, but the reason behind it to us was really impressive, because he wants to encourage all people, anyone who can, to try growing garlic. And that is so similar, in my opinion, to our mission here, except for our focus is on just gardening in general. Well, this, he said, the best thing to do to start with planting your garlic, and I'm going to follow his procedures step by step as best I can, and I think we're going to get some good results. He said, step 1, go ahead and get the garlic pieces separated, and you're going to give it a sterilizing soak. And what we're going to use for that sterilizing soak, we're going to soak it for 15 minutes in 70% isopropyl alcohol. It's not overly expensive to do, and that's going to help us kill off bacteria or anything that might be on the outside. By the way, I ended up getting 3 different types of garlic from Guten garlic. I got the Chesnok Red, which is a purple stripe hardneck. I got the Georgian Crystal, which is a porcelain hardneck. And I got something called green garlic, but I'm going to talk about that one in a little bit. By the way, I asked Guten, and it actually says right on his website that if you happen to get all of the skin off of the garlic piece, doesn't matter. They've grown lots of garlic with the skin on and the skin off. All right, let's get the isopropyl alcohol on here. Again, 15 minutes. That's all we need for this first part. And then I'm going to show you what we need to do for our fertilizer soak. Now, while that 15 minutes is passing, I'm going to go ahead and set up my fertilizer soak. And I'm going to use what's recommended on their website, or one of the things recommended, which is some fish emulsion that I've got here. We use that quite a bit anyway. So I'm going to create a gallon of that so that I can soak these in there for about 45 minutes after we're done with the isopropyl alcohol. All right, it's been 15 minutes. So I'm going to take these out, kind of strain them off from the isopropyl alcohol, and then I'm going to replace that with our fish emulsion. All right, this is mixed according to the instructions on the fish emulsion container. So I'm just going to pour this in here. Now, according to the website, you want a 45-minute soak at least. They said sometimes they leave it in there overnight. We're going to give it about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how much time we have before I have to get this in the ground. And I'm going to do the same with the other one. Now, I got something else from Guten Garlic as well, and that is a fertilizer that is specifically tailored to garlic. So it's a 5221 fertilizer. One of the things that Guten stressed is that you can't really make up for fertilizing if you don't get it in there beforehand. So get a good fertilizer in, because these are heavy feeders. That's why we're doing the fertilizer soak, and then we're also putting this into the bed before planting. So I'm gonna get this put in while the soak is happening. All right, the application rate for this fertilizer is 1/4 cup for every 4 square feet, but it says to double this before planting. So I've got 18 square feet, so that means we need to put about 2 cups, just a little over 2 cups of the fertilizer in this bed. All right, here's what the fertilizer looks like. Let's get this spread out. All right, it has been 45 minutes, so these cloves of garlic have been soaked and they're ready to go in the ground. All right, we're gonna start by planting some of this Chesnok Red. Now I'm gonna keep this hardware cloth on here. You see I have a couple of bigger holes in here. This really helped keep the voles out, and I don't want any critters coming in here and disturbing the garlic. So I'm gonna plant this at about every 6 inches. Now in the past, I've tried planting the garlic a little bit closer, like 3 to 4 inches, but Guten said, give it 6 inches. Typically when he plants it, he does rows that are 10 inches apart, but 6-inch spacing in between, because when you get those nice big bulbs of garlic and the roots spreading out from there, they need that kind of space. So I'm gonna go with the expert. Now the other thing he mentioned to me, and I asked him what depth is the ideal depth for us to plant this garlic. He said you wanna have the tip of it about 1 inch below the surface. So that's about a 2-inch depth, because these pieces are about an inch tall, and then about 1 inch of soil right over top. So 6-inch spacing and then about 1 inch of soil on top should give us a good planting. One thing I'm really excited about for this garlic that I'm planting now is it's a hard neck garlic, which means we'll get some scapes off of it. The stuff we got at the store, the one year that we had a little bit of success with it, that was soft neck, so we didn't have any scapes that year. So we'll be able to get some of that this time around. I think that's pretty exciting. And I should have mentioned this, but I'm planting it the root side down, so pointy side up. That's what we want for each one of these. And again, that inch of space for the soil right at the top. And then we're gonna add probably 4 or 5 inches of hay on top of this to create a nice mulch so we can get it protected. I imagine we're gonna have a pretty brutal winter this year. It's been a pretty nice fall, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, I've planted about half the bed with the Chesnok, and now I'm gonna plant the Georgian Crystal. Now, I really love the size of these cloves, and according to their website, there is a positive correlation between the size of the cloves and the size of the bulb at the end. So if that's the case, we should be getting some really nice results out of here sometime mid or late July, I think. This is so exciting. Again, I feel so much more confident after having talked to somebody who knows what they're doing really well. That makes me a lot more comfortable. Now, I did decide to do one thing a little different up at the very end here, right by my raised bed. I put a row of the store-bought garlic. Let's just see what happens with those. Now, the first time I actually tried growing the garlic, we grew it in these are 50-gallon drums that have been cut in half. I put some black plastic around these. I've already fertilized it. I'm gonna put some of our new garlic in here as well. I'm gonna put the Georgian Crystal in the bed farthest from the compost here, and then the Chesnok in the bed right by the compost. We'll probably get about, what is he, 7 in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we'll get about 7 in here. Again, 1 inch of soil right up above. The other thing I love about planting garlic is pretty obvious here. Once you've got it planted, they're good for the winter. You don't really have to do anything until the spring. Right, look at that. I'll just pour the remains of this fish emulsion right on top of it. No sense letting that go to waste. Let me show you what it looks like once I've gone ahead and I've added the mulch. We are in zone 5, so that means we do get a pretty cold winter here. All right, let me show you the depth here if I can. I've got about 2.5, maybe 3 inches so far. I really want to get it to about 4 inches of depth, but that'll be a really nice mulch in here. This is really loose hay. That's something else that I've read is a good idea too, to have loose hay, nothing that's going to mat it down, because you want the shoots to be coming up through in the spring. You don't want it to be held down in there by overly matting hay. All right, I've got most everything planted here except for maybe 5 or 6 of those cloves. And then I've still got this nice raised bed here. So I'm going to put in some of these. Now these are called green garlic. Now I'd never heard of this before, but this is really cool. I'm gonna plant this entire set just like this entire bulb. It's going to go in just like I would plant anything else, but this is going to be something that starts to develop greens, and apparently it looks like spring onions basically, but it's going to start to develop greens at the beginning of spring. So I can start to harvest garlic greens early in the season instead of waiting till mid or late July to harvest. So these are going to provide food for stir fries or however else I want to use them. That's going to be a nice little piece. So I'm going to be able to harvest these regularly. I'm gonna go ahead and get these in this raised bed. Now I went ahead and did the fertilizer soak. You can see it's still pretty wet here. Just the same as I did for the other, but I just didn't take it apart. And I'm gonna plant these about 6 inches apart. So basically the same as I did with the other ones as well. Just like this. This raised bed is really nice. I don't have to till anything up. I'm just gonna go right in here. This is where we grew some of our sweet potatoes and our tomatoes this past season. So since these are gonna be ready to be harvested in early spring, that means I'll still have plenty of time to take them out and get some sweet potatoes, etc., whatever we decide to plant it in here. Now let me take a minute to talk a little bit about Guten Garlic. Their website is going to be listed on the screen right now. They do ship all over the US, and stock is low because we're at the end of the planting season for the most part. In fact, we're a little bit late getting this in the ground, but they still have some things in stock. And when it comes to next season, I highly recommend you giving their expertise a try. It's a family-owned business. Again, we're not profiting from this. We just wanted to share our experience with them. And I hope to be able to say in July, when I come out here and I start harvesting, this is why you get the really good seed source for garlic in order to grow some great garlic. Well, that's our plan. We've got everything planted. We're ready to go for these cold days that are coming. I think we've got snow in the forecast here in a couple days, so we'll see. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.